Hi there, this is John Wilkinson again from History Made Easier. In another presentation, I outlined 3 fundamental factors that help to explain just why the American economy boomed in the 1920s. Well, this complementary presentation will take a look at other important factors. Technology helped open up the American economy. Electricity was supplied to almost all urban homes by 1929, though not many farms were supplied. Nevertheless, this enabled a consumer boom centered on the home that not only created jobs and made huge profits for the companies involved, but made life so much easier, with things like washing machines and vacuum cleaners, and so much more fun with the likes of the radio. It was new methods of mass production, that is, the production of large amounts of standardized products, usually on an assembly line, that made so much of the consumer boom possible. It meant a range of consumer goods being readily available and at affordable prices. What is more, as the cost of goods was reduced, urban wages actually doubled, and with more money being earned, more money would be spent. It was what we call a virtuous cycle, and a highly significant factor in the economic boom. It was Henry Ford who started the Ford Motor Car Company in Detroit in 1903, and who introduced 2 key principles to his production of cars that did so much to change things. For he made cars affordable to many people when previously they had been seen as a luxury that few could afford. And if he could do it with cars, how much easier would it be to do with radios or domestic appliances? Ford designed the Model T for the masses, not just for the privileged few. Ford made a simple design for his Model T and allowed few variations to it. For example, just one colour was on offer, black, at least until 1925, when Ford did introduce colour to his cars for the female market. But by concentrating on one simple model, supplies of materials and parts was made easier and cheaper. And he introduced the assembly line into his car plants. This maximised efficiency in car production, and in so doing, he reduced the cost of his cars, so that many more Americans could afford one. It was a revolution of worldwide proportions, and still dominates modern life today. As the 1920s began in America, the consumer boom, based on the likes of radios, vacuum cleaners, washing machines, and cars, was being produced on assembly lines. But there were 2 other new phenomena that ensured that what American companies were producing would reach the masses. And again, it's something that revolutionized consumerism. Indeed, it could be argued it created it. Advertising and credit. With goods being produced on a mass scale and selling at low costs, an awful lot had to be sold if profits were to be made. Also, now that companies were no longer restricted to a local market, but had roads and railways to distribute their produce the length and breadth of the country, they needed to let their new potential customers know about what they had to sell. Consequently, companies spent huge amounts of money employing advertising agencies on a scale never seen before, and using sophisticated methods that had been used during the war to get Americans to support the war effort, but had never been used to sell products. Indeed, advertising became a new industry itself, with poster advertisements, billboards, newspaper and magazine advertisements, and the radio and cinema being used as well. And how about the pressure being applied in the advertisement I've used for this slide? It's appalling, really. Anyway, in 1918, American firms spent a little less than $60 million on advertising, rising to almost $130 million by 1920 and almost $200 million by 1929. In addition, the travelling salesman who sold to retailers and door-to-door salesmen who sold directly to homes became a common feature of life, whilst the mail-order catalogue, which brought shops into the home, became a common feature in homes throughout the country, and were a particular boon in rural America. Now, if advertising tempted the consumer, credit made it seem affordable. Buying in installments, buying on hire purchase at low interest rates, made the American dream life seem affordable. Hire purchase enabled consumers to buy goods they wanted with a small deposit and then pay the rest off in small weekly or monthly installments. This was the way cars were bought, washing machines, fridges, and even more basic goods such as clothes. 8 out of 10 radios and 6 out of 10 cars were bought on credit. We take it for granted today, and we know it can be risky for many. But in America, in the 1920s, all of this was new. However, there is still one more factor to consider in explaining the boom, and it's a tricky one because it's intangible: confidence. Americans simply developed a confidence that they had created the perfect world and that it was here to stay. This gave an expectation, a nice home with nice things, a car, and it gave Americans the confidence to go into debt and buy, to go into debt and invest, and to go into debt to manufacture and market new ideas, confident that a market can be created or expanded. This is the glory of capitalism, as well as its downfall. This is why, despite the poverty in America, a very, very positive picture can be painted of the American economy. Americans, or many of them, were living the dream. The economy was stable with continuous employment for a lot of Americans and wages increasing for many, so that workers had money to buy consumer goods. The industrial areas of the North and West in particular prospered, as did workers in the newer industries. More women went out to work too, which increased their spending power and that of their families. And as we have seen, Americans also had the confidence to buy things on credit, whilst mail-order catalogues made goods available no matter where they lived. America was booming, and I hope your studies are booming too. Thanks so much for listening. Subscribe to my videos if you feel they're working for you. It gives me a boost to keep making them. And check out my website, History Made Easier too. But for now, cheers.